take the risk, even if you're scared to do it, because like wonderful things might come out of it.
Amen. Thank you for those words of encouragement.
Yeah.
So what actually got you started with being a journalist?
Okay, so I always wanted to work kind of like front of camera work ever since I was little. Like when you would ask me when I was little, I would always say that that's what I wanted to do. And then there's actually videos. My mom has videos of me and stuff when I was little, broadcasting and like pretend producing and stuff. And then when I moved to New York in 2010, I actually enrolled in theater because theater and acting was what I did throughout my teenage years. And then my mom, being a very traditional Colombian lady, was like, you can study theater and acting if you want, but you also have to enroll in an actual degree. Like for her, like I needed to do an actual degree. So I thought of something that would be interesting and that I would like. So I enrolled in communications at the MCC in Manhattan. And I ended up going to film, like I was playing an extra for a movie, and somebody heard me speaking, and he told me I had a really good voice for TV and radio and stuff. So that person started training me just like on how to breathe and how to read a teleprompter and little things like that. And then they introduced me to someone who was starting, and who was kind of like starting, she was way ahead of her time because this was over 10 years ago. She was kind of starting like an online tour guide type of thing for people visiting New York in Spanish, and she was looking for someone to work with her on camera. So she brought me on as an intern, so I would help her produce the segments and then film them. And then obviously I went in just saying like, oh, this is my way of like getting seen on camera and stuff. But little did I know that I was going to completely fall in love with the journalism aspect of it, which was the investigative part and the writing part and things like that. And then when I left New York in 2012 and went to Miami, I just continued on with communications, did 2 years at Miami-Dade. And then when I graduated from Miami-Dade, I went to FIU and kept going with the broadcast media because they have like verticals. So it's the School of Communications and Journalism. And then they have like various verticals like marketing, advertising, broadcast media. And I went for broadcast media. And then I enrolled in a class that was kind of like a newsroom style course or class where we would always get credits and stuff. And it was like the newsroom at FIU. And all of the articles that I wrote that semester got picked up by the Miami Herald. And then that landed me an internship at the Miami Herald. The Miami Herald picked me up. That was in 2015. I started working with them. And then I interned for them for like a year and a half. And for me, that was like my chance. I was like, this is my chance to like meet as many people as possible in Miami and to make as many connections as possible to, you know, to escalate upward. And then maybe like a year later, I did really well in the networking and stuff. And somebody was following me on Facebook and they were part of a TV show for America TV. And then he invited me on the show and just for a one-time guest type of thing. And then that was where the kind of like the main host of the show really liked my style and what I had to say. And then they invited me on fully. So that was how I started doing TV so young. And yeah, that's how I got started in journalism.
Very inspiring. What advice or tips can you give people that are actually trying to break into the industry?
I think something key that people maybe miss or they don't know the importance or there's not enough emphasis on it is do an internship. So my story, for example, is like proof of how valuable an internship is, because the thing with when you graduate and you go into school, it's this thing where it's kind of like, okay, I need experience in order to land a career, but in order to land a job, but I need to land a job in order to gain experience, you know? So the one thing that covers the gray area within those two things is an internship. And I know it's hard because you do it while you're in school. So that's kind of like difficult for some people because some people have jobs and then like the internship, which is another job, and then like school, like they're enrolled full time and stuff. But it is a sacrifice that you have to make. And I mean, you can sleep later. You can sleep once you graduate and once you're like doing really well and doing what you love, but for the few years of university or of college where you have the energy and the time to only sleep the few hours that you need to and then like hustle throughout the whole day, you totally should. So that's like what I would say to anyone, like find an internship, find that hands-on experience. Sometimes it's not paid and it sucks, I know, but it's the one way to build a portfolio and to like escalate from there and scale.
What obstacles did you had to overcome in your journey?
There are various ones. One was obviously like personal obstacles. I did have like family issues going on, like my parents going through like a weird breakup, and it was like the second time they were breaking up and I was kind of like in the middle of it. So I was balancing out like the emotional situation of my parents and all this situation, and then on top of that like school and work and like everything else. So it was this juggling of like emotions and having to like everything that I felt at home, just like closing off and just like putting on a completely different face when I went to events or when I went to work, because I wasn't just going to walk into work crying or something. So it was always just like these two people. So that was like very emotionally draining for a while for me. And then the other one is obviously being a woman. I think still within our industry, being a woman is it's complicated. People don't take you so seriously at first. You have to work like 10 times as hard to be taken seriously, for people to know that you mean business. In my case, I work in entertainment. You know, artists will hit on you, or like the producer will hit on you, or they'll reach out to you after the interview and see if you want to go out to dinner. And it's just it's awkward, and it makes it complicated, because that's when you realize, even though you're flattered that the celebrity person wants to take you to dinner, for whatever reason, they have second intentions. It's more like, oh wow, well, I'm still not taken seriously enough to the point where this person feels like it's okay to reach out to me and ask me out to dinner.
So, with that said, what does it mean to you that more women are speaking about sexual harassment in this field?
I think it's incredibly important, and I think it does shift things for girls that are just getting started, because perhaps it's going to make it a little bit easier for them than like what it was for someone like me. I went through a lot of sexual harassment, especially starting off when you're so young, and people know that you're hungry and that you're willing to do many things in order to make it and to be taken seriously. So sometimes they try and take advantage of that, make maybe indecent proposals or things like that. So the fact that there is social media now where you can report these things and talk about them, and there's the Me Too movement, and so many things have happened within the past decade since I got started, makes it easier for young girls and even young men, because I'm not saying this only happens to women. It happens mostly to women, but it's also happened to men. So I find it very, very valuable, and I'm glad it happens, and I think more of it needs to happen, and that's why I'm so open about talking about it, because I think it's a conversation that needs to be had a whole lot, because it needs to stop, quite frankly.
What inspired you to start your own brand outside of working for multiple companies?
So it was, that's a difficult question, because I kind of never really, it's a good question. It's a good one, but it's difficult because I kind of never really look into like the reason why. I feel like it just kind of started happening kind of, because when I got started at the Miami Herald again, there were still things I wanted to do on the side that had nothing to do with the Miami Herald. So I was like, what can I do? And then the other thing is, obviously everyone started within Miami, at least, and even like New York, the big city, started knowing and hearing about me. I became this girl that was at the Miami Herald that covered like the fashion scene and the celebrities, and like I became the go-to young journalist that was like doing a whole bunch of things at the same time. And I would like write and report in Spanish, and then like in English, and I would like do TV. I would like do so much stuff. So that I was kind of like, I need to find a way to put everything like in one lane where I can like show the work that I've done, like these for the time that I'll be at the Herald, or that I've been at the Herald, and like what I'll continue doing. So then like that's how I started my website. And once I launched the website, which I did a huge party at the Epic Hotel and everything, and invited like all my media friends and everyone, then like things just started unfolding, and like more brands started reaching out, and I just started landing more gigs with different media outlets, and like just started scaling. And yeah, like more people started following me and hearing just about the brand as a whole. So a website is like proof of also what can happen when you display your work.
Mm-hmm. What is your favorite memory with business in this field, and what favorite celebrity that you covered that you enjoy having that interview with?
My favorite memory?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. I mean, I have a few of really good ones. A very recent one was obviously the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
The one last year, so 2000.
Life. Yeah, I was there too. I
you were there?
Yes.
So good. Obviously, like very exciting. I don't really cover sports, so I'm never within like the sports scene, and I don't really see the way it's covered. So it was really, really cool to see like the guys from ESPN there and Fox Sports and like all the like sports people, because I'm not a sports person. I was there for the celebrity coverage. So I thought it was really cool. And then regarding good interviews that I've had, I must say, I mean, I have a few, but a really, really good one that I had was Nicky Jam, who I interviewed a few years ago when he came out with his album after his like 10-year break. He came out with an album called The Phoenix. And that ended up being like the album featured in the XXX film. And I had a really nice conversation with him. And then actually, I'd say one of the top interviews I've had so far was actually will.i.am a few weeks ago. He was awesome, like really, really great, and just super conversational. Because I like it when the artist winds down. Because I'm not here to be a fangirl. I'm just here to talk to you. So when they just wind down and talk to me and they're super chill, I love it, because they just like they let loose and they just like tell me things that they're not even supposed to tell me, and it's just really interesting. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite memory, and to date, I think those two are like my top interviews.
What marketing strategies could you give people about building their brand and marketing themselves the right way?
Right. I actually dictate a whole course right now on that, because I think it's like that important. I think that it's important to just understand what your motive is, like what are the reasons why you're doing what you're doing, and you're creating your brand. So what motivates you? And the other one is just to think about the objective, like where do you want to be? And once you kind of figure out like that is where I want to be, and you can have various objectives, you don't need to have one specifically. I have a few. But when you ask me like where I want to be, I can kind of tell you. And I think having those objectives and those motives very clearly helps you mold the brand and kind of like make those decisions based on A, what you want to ultimately do, and B, like what drives you daily to do it. So I think that, and then obviously just being cautious of what you're saying on social media, of how you're directing yourself to people, of how you're expressing your opinions. I know we sometimes let our emotions get the best of us. We're all human, but the truth is that social media isn't even like 20 years old, and no generation up to now understands or knows what the repercussions of social media and our decisions right now will be 20, 30, 40 years from now. So we don't have anybody to tell us yet, oh, don't do this, or don't say this, or don't behave like this, or don't post this picture, because later on you're going to have a big problem, or these are the effects of behaving a certain way on social media. So I think like just when you're brand building, that's what you should be cautious of, is what I'm doing and is what I'm saying on brand, or is it not? And if you do want to go a certain vertical, which is totally fine, like I said, you can build various brands under your specific brand. Just do that. Manage two social media accounts, and then like for one, do whatever you're supposed to do for that one that's on brand, and then for the other, same thing. So obviously my personal one is very much like a mix of like my life, but also like what I read or what I do news wise, and like my career and things like that. Another one of mine would be something else, So I think that's just very important. And planning the content. I think planning content and knowing where to put certain things and when is absolutely key.
What advice can you give people that are actually trying to step into this field about gaining sources, as well as holding on to those type of contacts without giving their information away?
Okay, great. So I think sources obviously are key. Sources are literally what gives the article credibility. But in order for you to maintain those sources, which they really are like gems, whether they are a celebrity or just a random person, it doesn't matter, they're people. So never forgetting that you're a journalist and you're not here to exploit someone or put someone's career in jeopardy, unless maybe like you're covering politics and you're uncovering a massive story of corruption or something like that. It makes more sense. But the whole thing that journalists kind of maybe sometimes letting emotions or their points of view kind of get in the way, um, they'll take advantage of the fact that we're protected by defamation and things like that in certain ways. So I think it's very important to just never forget that the source is a person, that is a human being with family and friends and everything. And the fact that they're sitting down and talking to you and opening up to you, or even just giving you any piece of information, is a very valuable thing. And therefore, that's why we as journalists have to maintain our transparency and our precision when we do report. And you don't owe anything to the source, but as someone with integrity, as a human being with integrity, you do owe it to yourself to be as honest as possible about whatever the source tells you. And some sources do decide to give you all their information. I have massive celebrities and people that work in the industry that give me their phone numbers and their WhatsApps, and I don't touch them. Like, I've never messaged anyone when I'm not supposed to. So it's their choice if they want to give you their phone number or whatever, or if they just want to speak to you through a publicist and have the publicist arrange whatever it is that they do, or whatever it is that the interview is going to be. But I think that's key. It's remembering that you need to be respectful and that you're not a fangirl or a fanboy of whoever is in front of you. They're just people, and you're just there to do your job and then to go home and write the article as honestly as possible. And that's it. Like, that's your job. So if you don't let those other emotions get in the way and you just remember that you have the journalist hat on, then you're fine.
What does your day usually look like throughout the week?
Okay. I'm not an early morning person. So I probably don't ever get started before 9 a.m. So yeah, I wake up, I make myself coffee. Without coffee, I kind of can't function. Yeah. And then I look through my Google Calendar, and I also have like an agenda that I take everywhere with me. Like, I don't ever leave the agenda ever. And that's where I have like all the stuff that I'm going to do throughout the day or throughout the week. And then, yeah, I just like go through emails, see what I have to reply to or not, if I have to make any phone calls, see if I have to like cover any stories or write any articles, or sometimes as well, I get hired for copywriting. So I do a lot of like ghostwriting and press releases for big things that come out, whether it be films or a big opening or something like that. So yeah, that's what I do. And I honestly finish working at like 10, sometimes 11. Today, for example, I'll finish working around 1 a.m. So my days do start a little later and they do end late as well.
And my last question is, what advice could you give people about overcoming obstacles and holding on to that faith?
Yeah, that's actually a big one, because I think it's hard sometimes when we work really hard for something and we know what we want and then we don't see the results that we want. But I think it's important to understand that timing is a real thing, and timing is different for everybody. And sometimes you see someone that you started off with and maybe you went to school with or whatever, and you both did the same things and they're so much ahead of you, like way ahead of you, and you're like, what did they do that I didn't do? Or like, how did they get so lucky and I didn't, if I've been working so hard? But their situation is always going to be different than yours, and you need to understand your situation and your journey and kind of like the obstacles that maybe come with lessons. Maybe there's a few things that you have to learn along the way that will make you stronger for when those moments do come, for whenever those victories do come. And they will come, because when you work hard, life is not unfair. You work hard and you do get results. So I think it's that. I think we are a generation where we're very impatient sometimes. We want things now. And sometimes we want them for the wrong reasons. We want them because we want to like prove something to somebody, or we want to prove people wrong, or we want to show off to people, or we want to live this life, this like lavish life that we dream of, but we want to live it now that we're like young and not like maybe when we're 35 or 40, because we're like, oh no, by then like I'll have kids and this, and like we just like build all these like scenarios in our heads of why it sucks that things aren't working out exactly the way we want them to. But we need to remember that there is a process for everyone. So I think that's important, to honor the process and to honor the things that you have to learn along the way, and to just keep working, because it's impossible that you work for 10, 20 years and results don't come. Like, the results will come, but you do have to be disciplined and, you know, put in the work and just, and maintain the faith.
Amen to that. Maintain the faith. So, Cata, before we let you leave, where can my viewers actually find some of your work, what you're working on, and your social media handles?
That's so nice. Well, my social media is at Cata Balzano, like across all platforms, anywhere and everywhere. It's Cata Balzano. And then my website is www.catabalzano.com. And there you can find a lot of the work that I've done. And I just continuously update it as articles come out and things come out.
Thank you again for joining me. Everybody, this is Fago Franklin III. Y'all can actually follow me on my Instagram, which is superjournalist87. Y'all can follow me on Facebook, which is Fago Franklin III. Y'all can hit that Google search engine and put in Fago Franklin III, and it will show you all the interviews that I have done with your favorite celebrities, media personalities, and people that are actually in the media field. Again, thank you for joining me, Cata.
Thank you, Fago. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Have a blessed one.
Take care. Bye.
Yes, ma'am. Bye.